vote to 270 for Republican Donald Trump and Democrat Kamala Harris. Both candidates will be hoping for an early night in their paths to the presidency if they manage to flip some of the 7 swing states, or as they call it, the battlegrounds of Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, and Michigan. Pollsters, however, say whoever wins those states has a clear path to the presidency. It's a tense election with little separation of numbers as polls have been tight. But breaking the deadlock will certainly send shockwaves across the world. On the campaign's final night, Kamala Harris brought out celebrities for closing submissions, receiving endorsements from musicians and actors. Donald Trump, on the other side, held his final rally in Michigan and received endorsements from popular podcaster Joe Rogan. Our roving senior reporter Duncan Haimba joins us now, who's been crisscrossing the United States of America. Duncan, is it good morning, good evening? How have the polls just opened a few hours ago? Tell us what's happening.
It is good morning, James, from Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. As many have said, as it has been stated, or as it has been written, this is the most unprecedented, the most bizarre, so to speak, or the most extraordinary election in the history of the United States of America. That a sitting president had to step aside 4 months to the election. Then a vice president stepped forward and has led a spirited campaign against a former president who left the White House and is seeking a comeback to the White House. The last time it happened were many, many years ago, and out of the 5 attempts, only one president, a Democrat, has managed to go back to the White House. 4 have failed. Will Trump make history by going back, or will he become history in this particular aspect? So the polls remain very tight. As you indicated, candidates were campaigning until as late as midnight, on the stroke of midnight. They were still campaigning in Pennsylvania. This is a very critical state because it is said whoever will win this state will clinch the presidency. In 2016, it happened. Donald Trump won and he became president. In 2020, Joe Biden won Pennsylvania and he won the presidency. It is now 2024, Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. That explains why yesterday Kamala Harris had 4 meetings, spent the whole day in Pennsylvania. Donald Trump was here on Sunday. He had to return yesterday for another whistle-stop series of rallies before going to Michigan and eventually retiring to Florida. So that explains just how critical this state is. And they are saying whoever will win North Carolina, Georgia, and Pennsylvania will be home and dry. So what is happening here? Voting is underway. Many have been voting since morning. It is now 3 hours since, it is actually 7 hours since the voting began. But also this is dependent on the state you are in. The other states that it is 3 hours, the other state is 4. This particular state where I am, it is now 7 hours since the voting began. And we also managed to go to the Philadelphia electoral warehouse, and whereby the electoral staff have started sifting through the received mails. Remember that in this particular election, just to paint a picture on how tight and it is, out of the 240,000 ballot papers that were taken, 180,000 had been received as of yesterday. And the officials there were saying that there are those who are still making requests on emergency, that they need ballot papers, so far as mailing way of voting is concerned. But for in-person voting, today is the day, the big day for everyone here in the United States. I was just trying to paint a picture on how crucial this election is. Now, by yesterday, total number of early votes received were 78 million. Now, this is more than half the total votes that were cast in 2000 during the battle between George Bush of the Republican Party and Al Gore of the Democrat Party, 2000, when Bill Clinton was leaving office. Total number of votes cast were 160 million, I beg your pardon. Now, as of yesterday, early votes were 78 million. So it has all permutations that this will surpass the record turnout in the United States of 160 million which last happened in 2000. It will be a very interesting spectacle. As we have indicated, why this one is very critical, Kamala Harris is seeking to make history after becoming the first female vice president, African-American first vice president. She's seeking to make another history as the first president in the United States of America, a first female president in the United States of America, and an African-American for that matter. Some authors adding the issue that she's of Indian extraction as well. So this will be history. And then for Donald Trump, as we've said, in the history of the United States, only one president, a Democrat, has managed to go back to the White House. 4 others failed. Will Donald Trump become the second one, or will he fail just like the previous 4? But from here, I will be heading to Washington, D.C. in the next 2 hours, where Kamala Harris will be having her watch party in Washington, D.C. That will be the big event, presumably assumed to be around midnight. That is if all goes well, where we don't know whether it will be an acceptance speech or will it be a concession speech. But many are putting their money on Kamala Harris in as much as it is a dead poll until last night. So those are the issues that we will be looking out. The only problem that we seem to, that might derail the process, James, is that Republicans have said some counties that are strong Republicans, they've stated that if they will notice any anomaly, then they are not going to sign the results. This one, in effect, might derail the same. Also, Donald Trump has gone to court, has filed several petitions with regard to this election. So we don't know whether that one will derail the results, but if all remains on course, tomorrow morning, the Americans, the Kenyans, Africa, and the entire world will be knowing who will be the next president, the 47th. Remember again, this battle is between the 45th president and the 49th vice president. They are aiming to be the 47th president of the United States of America. I'll have to end it here, James, because I have to hit the road to Washington, D.C. for that crucial watch party by Vice President Kamala Harris, and I need to be there in good time. Over to you, James, in studio.
Thank you very much, Dan Kanaba. Completely understood with the whistle stops and the threatening words of battle state and the battlegrounds and moving into the watch parties. Quite an election, and the next few hours will be very instructive.